This is the regular meeting of the Mobile City Council, Tuesday, July 28th. Please stand for our invocation, led by Councilmember Richardson, District 1, and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
May we bow our heads, please. Father, I stretch my hand to thee, for there is no other help I know. If thou withdraw thyself from me, oh, whither shall we go? It is again, dear Father, that your humble servant, bowing before you, thanking you for all of the blessings that you have bestowed among us. Father, we especially ask you today to remember our citizens today, those that are sick among us. The virus is on the move, Father. We know that you know everything. Let your guardian angels comfort and keep them in your keeping care. Bless every leader, our mayor, our city council members. Bless us that as we go and deliberate this business, that whatever we do here today, you may get glory and honor. Guide us, forgive us, and keep us, and cause your faith to shine among us. In the matchless name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. President.
We'd ask that you would remain standing for a moment of silence. Mr. Daves?
Thank you, Mr. President. Today I would like to ask that we take a moment of silence to remember the life and work of Robert J. Eddington. Mr. Eddington passed away over the weekend. Mr. Eddington served with distinction in the United States Navy and later in the Alabama legislature. He was named Mobilian of the Year in 2007 and Mobile Area Veteran of the Year in 2002. Mr. Eddington was a member of the local Navy League. He was very actively involved in arranging for the ships to come here during Mardi Gras. His life was devoted to service of his city and his state. His wife of many, many years, Pat, has also devoted her life to serving both the city, the state, and at a national level. An interesting story of Mr. Eddington is that he was a witness of the famous collision between the Stockholm and the steamship, the liner Andrea Doria, in 1956, which resulted in the sinking of the Andrea Doria. Mr. Eddington was on the Stockholm at the time, so he had a bird's eye view of it. A great, great man, a lovely man, a wonderful man to talk to. A moment of silence, please, for Robert Eddington. Thank you.
Roll call. President Manzi.
Here.
Vice President Small.
Here.
Councilmember Richardson.
Here.
Councilmember Williams. Here. Councilmember Daves.
Here.
Councilmember Rich.
Here.
Councilmember Gregory.
Here.
Statement of rules.
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning. We first ask that you would either silence or turn off all electronic devices before or upon entering the council meeting. And the person desiring to address the council must sign in indicating the resolution, ordinance, appeal, or public hearing agenda item before entering the meeting. When addressing the council, we ask that the speaker state clearly for the record both your name and your address. Any person desiring to speak to the council on a non-agenda item must contact the city clerk's office no later than 2 p.m. on the Thursday prior to the council meeting. The subject he or she wishes to address must be pertinent to City of Mobile business. Any person who hadn't given that proper notice to the clerk's office and wishes to speak on a non-agenda item will not be allowed to address the council. Speakers are granted 5 minutes to make their presentation. A bell will sound to indicate the end of 4 minutes. 1 minute remains for summarizing. The second bell indicates that all of your time has expired. When addressing the council, there is to be no personal address to any individual council member. All statements are to be made to myself, who serves as chair, and any subsequent commentary by a member of the council will be allowed. To maintain decorum, and this is important, to maintain decorum, there will be no undue applause and/or public outcry allowed. We have these rules. These rules are not new. I have been tasked with conducting a very fair but orderly meeting, and that's our intention. It's no slight against any person. When your 5 minutes are up, your 5 minutes are up. If you get off topic from what you signed in to speak on, then I'm charged with asking you to get back on topic so that we can have a very orderly and productive meeting. Those are the rules. In addition, we're asking that any person who chooses to participate in this exercise would wear their mask. All of us understand the global pandemic that we're under. If you're going to be in this environment with recycled and enclosed air, we're going to ask that you would wear your mask. We have ours on, and we're going to ask that everyone that participates in this particular meeting would have theirs on. If you choose not to wear your mask, there's a monitor out there in the atrium, and this meeting is fully viewable on YouTube. Those are our rules, and thank you for all of your interest in your municipal government.
Approval of minutes of July 21st.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? Great job as always. All in favor? Opposed?
Communications from the mayor.
Good morning. It's good to see a good crowd here today.
Good morning.
First comment has to do with the face coverings. The city's regulation on the face coverings actually expires this Sunday. The governor's expires Friday, the 31st. We are awaiting the governor's order to see what she does to extend the face covering before the city, makes a decision. Our feeling at this point in time is that she will extend her order, and if she does, that would encompass all the cities in the state of Alabama, which would mean that we don't have to take action to have our own face covering ordinance. Yesterday, I think you may have noticed that the ABC board issued restrictions on bars selling alcohol after 11 p.m. I think that we'll be receiving more guidance in the coming days, but that is in a direct response to the continuing spread of COVID. There are conversations that some are having about concerns about the mayor's position on shutting down businesses going forward. And I just want to put those concerns aside and just tell you that I am not engaged in any conversations about shutting down any businesses as we stand today. So we will need to continue on, but it is imperative. It's imperative that you accept the responsibility for yourself, doing the things that you know that you need to do to stay safe, such as wearing the mask, washing your hands, and keeping the social distancing. And as long as we continue to do that, our hope is that we will start to see the cases decline. July 26, 2020 marks the 30th anniversary for the Americans for Disabilities Act. For the last 4 or 5 years, we have had an ongoing process, I would say almost a non-stop process, to where we are fixing our sidewalks, especially where they ramp down to the streets at every intersection, and we have a very robust plan to continue doing that to make sure that the city ends up being in compliance with the Americans for Disabilities Act. And I want to just tell all those who are involved with that process, we certainly appreciate what you do. So I'm hoping that we have a good and productive meeting today, and with the council president, that's all my remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Monthly finance report.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sales taxes rebounded last month in June, which relate to May sales transactions. After 3 months of multi-million-dollar decreases in revenue as a result of the COVID crisis, June sales taxes were up $2.4 million over June of 2019. That came as a wonderful surprise. That's not being experienced in many places that we've heard of, but certainly a rebound for the city of Mobile. Transactional activity and sales taxes were up at grocery stores, big box stores, and home improvement centers, which I'm sure you've noticed if you've done any of the shopping in your household. Restaurants and bars are suffering. Even with the new gas tax, total gasoline taxes were down 17% in June from last year's gasoline taxes. I guess this is a bright note. Alcohol taxes were up 42%. Hotel occupancies hit 49% in June, which is way ahead of schedule. We did not anticipate that rebound. Lodgings taxes, which again are 1 month in arrears, were about 45% in June as what they were the year before. So we've still got a long ways to go to increase occupancy and economic occupancy, but people are staying in hotels. The hotels on the Beltline and at Tillman's Corner are especially doing well, and as office use increases in the downtown and people come back to work, occupancy levels down here should go up also. So what does this tell us? May sales were probably not artificially impacted by stimulus checks. Those were mostly spent through April. There probably was some artificially powered spending as a result of the federal unemployment compensation supplement. But Congress looks inclined not to end unemployment compensation supplements abruptly, but to taper those down somewhat so that those unemployed still have a chance at maintaining their economic stability while not encouraging them or rewarding them for not going back to work. What we're able to do now is project what 2021 will look like on the revenue side, including the 3 bad months, March, April, and May. The trailing 12 months, which is what we measure in anticipating the future, indicates a slightly higher sales tax revenue in 2021. So that is very good news. Hotel occupancies and lodgings taxes should increase. Our empty convention center and civic center and largely empty Sanger Theater have full or almost full schedules into 2021. They're going to certainly draw audiences or customers at a lower rate because of what we anticipate to be continued physical distancing requirements. But those revenues should increase also for 2021. So all told, as we look to budgeting for fiscal 2021, we're encouraged by the rebound, and I think we'll have a healthy fiscal year in 2021. I'd be happy to answer any questions, Mr. President.
Any questions of Mr. West? Thank you.
Adoption of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is adopted.
Public hearings today is a public hearing to declare the structures at 727 Florida Street Extension, 353 Dunbar Street, 520 Euchre Street, 2108 Bucker Place, 905 formerly known as 1009 Gale, formerly known as 1009 Tennessee Street, 1365 Glen Street, and 7320 formerly known as 7312 4th Street, public nuisances and ordering them demolished.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak concerning any of the addresses called by city clerk in these public hearings? Yes, ma'am. If you would, the microphone is centered there. If you would come and give us your name and address.
My name is Nandi Farman. I'm Charles and Farman's daughter, who is the owner of 727 Florida Street Extension. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and my sister lives in Fayetteville.
Miss,
My mom moved out.
is that on?
Florida Street.
Is it on? Right, we want to make certain we can.
It's on.
The lights on.
Just need to speak a little louder.
If you could, start your presentation over, and if you could amplify just a little louder, so, because we're having just a little trouble hearing all you're saying.
My name is Nandi Farman. I'm daughter of Charles and Farman, who was the owner of 727 Florida Street Extension. I live in Atlanta, and my sister lives in Birmingham. All of the information about my mom's house always was coming from the city, the county. Anything about paying taxes or anything like that was coming to my home. But for some strange reason, none of this information came to my home. It came to several different people. And finally, about 2 to 3 weeks ago, we found out about this issue. My sister and I have gotten in touch with the contractor. They have started to do some work on the house. Also, I'm meeting with an assessor today after court, and we'll speak to them and find out how much it would cost. And then my sister and I would then make a decision on who's going to sell the property, see if we can get some of our family that lives here involved, and trying to keep the property up. My mom did pass during COVID. Couple of
90
months ago.
days.
So we're hoping that you will not deem it needing to be demolished at this time.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson?
thank you very much. Ms. Harmon, we had a discussion on this property this morning. I raised the issue that I didn't want it demolished. I wanted time to go and try and find the owner, and lo and behold, you showed up. So I'm going to, Mr. President, I'm
Yes,
going
sir.
to recommend that we lay this property over for 90 days to give them a chance to get it in shape. I rode by there, I rode around the back yesterday. It wasn't no property that I wanted to see demolished. It needs some work. You got to cut that tree down that's coming into the roof, and it's some boards got to be fixed, and you said to go. So I'm going to ask the council to give you all 90 days to let your contractor go to work and put the house in shape. I'm so glad you came today, but I was looking out for you. I was going to try and find you all, but you showed up, so this is great.
Thank you so much. Thanks for hearing me out today.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for coming today. Is there anyone else that would like to participate in any of these public hearings for any of the addresses called by our city clerk? If not, public hearings are closed.
Presentation of petitions and other communications to the council. Tempe Hamilton.
Yeah, speak up if you would, Miss Hamilton. Yes, that's better. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to be standing before you today.
Ms. Hamilton, if you could, state for the record both your name and address, please.
Tiffany Hamilton, I-3003 Louis Drive South.
Yes, ma'am.
For I'm going to summarize the encounter that I had on July 16th, when I dropped my dog off at Lowell's Pet Room. We retrieved our dog and we inquired about their pricing system. The local business owners inquired, or escalated this inquiry to a verbal confrontation. They escalated to the point of pointing their fingers or putting their fingers in Ashley's face and shouting at her. They recorded us on video camera and they volunteered the explanation of that's what y'all do to us. He aggressively stepped inches from my face, removed his face mask, and threatened to pull a gun. Police were involved. Apologies were offered from the police officers. We were told that a police report would be made, but no case number was provided. After sharing this experience on social media, I learned this was not an isolated incident. From the Google and Yelp reviews, it clearly indicated this hostile and antagonizing behavior that we experienced was a standard business practice for Little Bells, and the incident escalated to gun threats because of our race. It's my understanding that business owners have been sharing clips of videos after they reported to different businesses around that stopped by. However, they haven't shared the part where they turned with their guns. I processed this situation from several angles. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, so allow me to put my clinical hat on for a second. As a young black woman, we are confronted by 4 white people, one of which is a male who asserts to you that this is a race issue and not the principal customer service issue, as you have assumed, steps into your face without a face mask, amidst the global pandemic, and threatens to get a gun, whether you stay on the property or leave, your body is the automatic response. Your sympathetic nervous system is activated. This means it prepares you to fight, flee, or freeze. My natural response was to fight, not physically fight, but defend my family. The officers took the entire incident as a profane violation to both parties. No amount of profanity would warrant the magnitude of the business owner's actions in the threat to pull the gun. What happened here is reflective of what's happening in our country. So if these have been killed, and different officers showed up. Arguably, fortunately for us, the responding officers were neutral. But when you choose neutrality in instances of injustice, you've chosen the side of the oppressor. The police didn't kill us, they didn't protect us. We tried to wait until we were no longer emotional about what happened before we spoke publicly about it. However, this is our reality, so we're always going to be emotional about it. How do we ensure that this does not happen again? How do we change this culture? As a Mobile native, I left here because of this very culture. It's disappointing to come back and experience the very things that I ran away from 4 years ago. I would encourage each of you with some words from the late John Lewis. You have a moral obligation, a mission, and a mandate to do your part. Help create a beloved America, a beloved world where no one is stepped on or left behind because of their race or class. I'm going to share with you some more words from John Lewis that's fueled me through this. When you see something that's not fair, that's not right, that's not just, you must say something. You have to do something. So I'm standing before you today saying something. So what are y'all going to do? Thank you.
Mr. President. Ms. Hamilton, thank you for coming to share your concerns with us today. As I was listening to your narrative, my understanding is that you say you were mistreated at a place of business in the city of Mobile. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And the police were called,
Yes, sir.
and the police came,
Yes, sir.
and the police, you say, were neutral. What would you have liked the police to do?
I would like to have a police report number to document the incident.
I think you can get I don't know if they filed a report on this incident. They did?
They did not.
They did not. Okay.
And my life was threatened, and I did not get a police report. I didn't get a case number.
Okay.
Mr. Davis, do you have any other?
No, I don't. I just wanted to make sure I had the facts right. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson?
Ms. Hamilton? First of all, I think we let people off easy when we use race. It was hate. One race is hate. They all in the same, you're in the same race they in, the human race. It was hate. But it seems to me the crime there was assault. Assault meaning that you was made to believe that you would be bodily harmed based on a gun being pulled on you. That is assault. Now, if he had hit you with the gun, that's assault and battery. He didn't hit you with the gun. He made you feel that you may befall bodily harm. You should have you should have gone somewhere and sworn out a warrant for the arrest of that person for assaulting you. Then they would have a report.
I want to clarify that he didn't pull the gun, he wanted to get the gun.
Oh, okay.
This was an issue of, we were talking about crisis. And when they began recording us, we thought this was about customer service, and he made a comment, that's what y'all do to us. But at that point, he indicated to me that this was about race. This was never a race issue in my mind, so he made a
Right.
comment.
Right. Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
I'm through with this. Assault has nothing to do with a weapon. It's whether or not you was made to believe that you may befall bodily harm. If he said he was going to go get a weapon and you felt like you were threatened, that's enough too. You didn't have to have no gun. But I'm saying the crime and for the police to make an arrest, it has got to be a crime committed. And the only, based on what you said, because people can say, they can call you out the name and all that, but to threaten to go get a gun, if you became fearful and you think your life may have been threatened at that point, then you could have sworn out a warrant that you were assaulted. And we got the Director of Public Safety here, and he can expound on that. And if I'm out of order, he can say I'm out of order, statewide.
I have a question.
Ms. Rich?
Ms. Hamilton, do you know who called the police to come? Okay.
Mr. Public Safety Director?
We've got some officers here and a supervisory officer here. If you would like to meet with one of those officers and file a police report, and so we'll be glad to do that.
And Ms. Hamilton, I would take him up on that offer. That's one route. And my estimation is we have another one. You have made it known on Facebook, and now you have come down here to Government Plaza for the leaders of this city to let us know of your interaction with that particular business owner. And you have referenced that the statement was made that that's what y'all do to us. And what, I don't know exactly who y'all might be. I think I have a good idea. And I would advise anybody who happen to be in that y'all category just to keep their dogs, cats, goats, and anything else from that business. See, the one thing that everybody understands is economics. That's the one thing everybody is the universal language. And if we stop taking our animals in there, the message will be emphasized that we want to be treated with the same respect and deference of any other person going into that refuge. I often take my sister's Maltese to the groomers. I've been to that business. I won't be going back. You should not have had to have that interaction. So whether you choose to swear the warrant out, I hope you do. The public safety director is offered to facilitate you having that opportunity. Whether you choose to do that or not, we got to have some sense for ourselves. And they're in the dog grooming Mobile, worth it. They're in the Conecuh sausage in Mobile, worth it.
Watch it now.
We got to have some sense for ourselves. And the universal language is the almighty greenback. Let your
Amen.
dog be nasty. Clean him at home first before you put up with that. And so I appreciate you having the courage to come down here, and the public safety director has offered to facilitate you doing whatever it is you feel you need to do, and I'm hopeful that you take him up on that. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashley Warfield.
Not really. If you could get right up in there, Mr. Warfield. That's better. Yes, ma'am. If you could give us your name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Ashley Warfield. I'm here visiting Mobile from D.C., Maryland, with Tiffany Hamilton. I was unfortunately with her experiencing this. And as a visitor from D.C., I was completely taken back by what I experienced. I won't go into what we already experienced at the actual grooming facility, but what I'd like to
Ms. Warfield, I'm sorry, that's your time. And that's one of the reasons I'm so glad I went over all that at the beginning relative to rules, because it's not a slight against anybody, it's just the rules. I do have a question, because now I feel a little invested in what you all have said. What was the disagreement about? What caused all this to happen?
What started this disagreement was us asking, what's your pricing system? What is the base price for a haircut? We were referred to Lola Belts by Tiffany's mother and best friend. They have dogs that are bigger than ours, one the same size, and all the things. They told us, hey, it's gonna be, we pay about 35, no more than 40. When we received our total, it was $45. Understanding that what they determined, the pricing, what the pricing would be by matting and the dog's behavior and all these things, they've already indicated to me that Cujo was great. He had no mats, his skin was fine, all good. But they said $45. I simply asked, why? How is that? Like, what's your pricing system? Like, where's the base price?
So you didn't inquire what the price would be for your dog's grooming prior to leaving the dog?
Yes, we did. We were told that they could not give us the price because it could vary depending if he was matted and his behavior. My dog is 11 years old. He's been getting groomed and he's fantastic. So I had no doubt that my price would not be inflated by those factors. So when I know that dogs that are bigger than mine with worse conditions, will pay 35, I simply wanted to know why. And if it was because they're customers for a long time, you should have told me that, because that's fantastic. I work with businesses, it's my profession. I work with businesses and customer service, building sales, that would have been the thing.
Yes, ma'am. I appreciate it.
Sorry, that escalated it.
Yes, ma'am.
Simply me saying, why?
Okay. Any other questions of Ms. Warfield?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir, Mr. Vice President.
Ms. Warfield, thank you all for coming down, but I do have a question. Did you all call down to the police department and ask them, did they file a report, or do they have a report on file?
Yes,
You all,
the report was filed.
so you all did call down to the police department? Okay, thank you.
Well, as our public safety director has indicated, they will help facilitate the filing of a report. If you or either Ms. Hamilton want to move forward in that direction, you certainly have that prerogative.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for coming down.
Mr. President?
Ms. Gregory?
Just a quick question of the Public Safety Director. Do officers file a report on every case they go out to?
They do not.
They do not.
They do not.
Why would they not, on general terms, why would they not file a report?
Well, in this particular incident, I don't really know. I'm just hearing this side of it. But if all the owner wanted was to have them removed from the business and didn't want to proceed with any charges, they wouldn't have filed a report. If a report was requested by these young ladies for harassment or whatever it may have been, then they should have filed a report. But it looks like they brought a supervisor over there. But again, we have Sergeant Corley here. He's going to address it and try to find out what that call, how it originated, what the circumstances were, and facilitate a report if that's what they wish to do. And again, that will be up to a magistrate as far as warrants go.
Signing a warrant, yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Madam City Clerk?
Antonio Moore. Mr. Moore has signed for a non-agenda item, and he has also signed for an agenda item, ordinance 39020.
Mr. Moore?
It's on.
You said 39020?
And I was trying to speak on transparency from the police department. There is a website on the city of Mobile.org. So link it goes to public safety. Under it has EMT, fire department, and the police department. In certain
Mr. Moore, could you put your mask on? No problem. Oh, I understand. I don't want any. There we go. Thank you.
Everyone still hear me?
Yes,
Yes.
sir. Hear you fine.
With the website, they can go on and look up information about, city employees, or their fire department, EMTs, or their police officers, things like that. And what I was saying was, on the disciplinary part, it'd be very nice if the citizens of this city could go online and say, okay, this officer is patrolling my neighborhood. This officer works with the police in that, assigned to my area. I want to know about this officer. I want to go online, just a click of a button, and say, okay, they have this many years of service, they get paid this amount of money, but preferably, this person has how many citations to give them, how many disciplinary reports on them. I mean, if it's just someone hit their car, or someone, they ran to like a pole or something, they got to do a report on that, but that's neither here nor there. Now, if it's something like you put someone in a chokehold and get back in the street, or pull your gun on someone in an incident where use of force wasn't required, that's something you want to know. And it can help weed out problematic officers easily. Because nowadays you understand that the public eye is watching it harder. And they can't hide behind a hidden handbook or hidden policies that no one in the city can see. So it's to my understanding that the city council can't, don't have control over the city of Louisville. It comes from the administrative side. So I would like to know if there's anyone possible that needs to be put in place for information like that to be released or provided on the website. Or not just police officers, but also for fire officers, EMTs, all people under the
Any response, Mr. Public Safety Director? What you stated is perfectly clear and it's correct. The website, the City of Mobile's website, and any dissemination of information relative to the police department, that would have to be prompted by the administration. Mayor Stimson is here, the Public Safety Director is here. They've clearly heard your commentary, and they have the opportunity to respond if they wish. But that isn't something that we would mandate from a council perspective. Yes, sir. Thank you for coming down.
I have one question,
Mr.
Mr.
Vice
Moore. You
President?
said that it was several cities. I'd like to check those well. So, what cities is it?
Carolina, Sacramento, California, one of them. But I believe the state of California has one that's like for the entire state. I saw videos on YouTube where they went and they pulled up a sergeant's salary. He made like $200,000 a year. He served like 60 years as a sergeant. And I was up there. Wow, that's awesome. Can't see that. I know how much like I know the officer's name, that the whole side of information about it. So safety, that hey, he's controlling the streets, I need to protect him. I want to know, not, I hate to be sorry, but as an example, I want to know, like, hey, this guy, he got in trouble with people, or doing his stuff, or he's a bad driver, he hit his car, he just unlucky. He just didn't have it. That way, with that way, say for instance, he ends up like in a bad situation that we don't want to be in. The public goes and
Did he answer your question?
Yeah, Mr. Moore. So you say
Yeah.
Sacramento, California, and you say Houston. Just said what the sergeant's salary is.
yeah, it was in California that I saw this.
Okay, Sacramento, California.
The Sacramento was the sergeant there.
Okay.
I have to find exactly the video and I can send it to the clerk and that should clear it up. But let's just say for instance, this officer, something happened.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I was just trying to see what cities that you are referring to, if I can look it up and, I can, vouch for you. But if I know what cities that you're saying that have this on the website, if I can go and look at it and check it out for myself.
Sacramento, California.
Okay.
Is it the city or the state has this?
The state had it too, but
So does the city use what the state has? Is that what it is?
it might be the city. He worked for Sacramento. It might have been the state of California.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's a state registry that the city of Sacramento probably just puts on their website, that it's used for the entire state, probably.
But the last one we get across, right, just
But at any rate, if you can just tell Mr. Small what other cities, maybe you've seen this, that we can look at it?
the biggest one I've seen is in California. So they have this going on, and they have all of them. So if we get this last one across, we'll let y'all get that.
No, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Thank
Mr.
you, Mr. Moore.
Mr.
Thank you.
Moore, your time has expired, but if you could pass us that information relative to those cities, I would personally be interested in seeing exactly what it is that you're referencing.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.
Mary Smith. And following Ms. Smith is Tiffany Prater.
Good morning, my name is Mary Smith, I live at 11910 Jesse Jackson Drive. I'm a licensed social worker. I have specialized training in trauma and also in the behaviors that are related to the exertion of power and control. I attended a special city council meeting.
Ms. Smith,
Yeah.
if you could, get as, and I hate to even say this, get as close as you're comfortable with that microphone, please.
I attended the special city council meeting on July 9th in order to better understand how the city of Mobile is functioning to serve as protected citizens.
Mr. President.
Ms. Fowler, do you have that cordless mic?
Yeah,
That is court.
And the paper
Oh, that's the cord?
is reverbing into the
Oh.
paper she's reading.
Because I'm just barely hearing. And we're going to ask that you would start at the very beginning. 1 second.
That one's cordless. She can take it off of the stand and hold it.
Oh, she can? Try taking it off the handle and holding it and seeing if that will work any better.
How's this?
No, I just think that might be your mask.
She
Might
probably
be.
can put the paper over her face
Yeah, she keeps putting the paper.
and then just
hitting
push her
paper.
mask out and just read it from there.
Let's see, she's got a, you have another mic, Ms. Fowler? No? Okay, just try to hold it as close as you can, please. And let's give it another go.
And hold the paper down.
How's this?
That's your mask. That's your mask.
My mask?
And you got a super duper mask on, too. That's what that is.
It's a
Sounds like
beater
it's
mask.
transmitting.
I don't know the remedy for that.
So, as I said, my name is Mary Smith. I live at 11910 Jesse Jackson Drive. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I have specialized training in trauma and also in the detection of behaviors related to
Can't hear.
the exertion of power and control. I'm fine, thank you very much. On July 9th, I attended this special meeting of the City Council in order to better understand how the City of Mobile is functioning to serve and protect its citizens. And I came away from that meeting with some concerns. First, many citizens came forward with questions about the police department's policies and procedures. Additional questions were submitted from before the meeting as well. And to date, very few of the questions were answered, even though this was the stated purpose of the meeting.
What we observed instead during the meeting was Chief Batiste sitting with his arms crossed and his back to the citizens who took time to come down and voice their concerns. Even 76-year-old Ms. McCants, who recounted her experience of being punched in the chest by Officer Stephen Chandler, did not earn the privilege of his gaze. Mr. Barber came to the meeting with a former U.S. attorney in tow as he postulated that there might be some legal reasons behind his continued withholding of the police department's policies and procedures. But there are no legal reasons to withhold those policies and procedures. Many, many police departments already have their policies and procedures posted online, including the city of Saraland, which is represented by attorneys here in Mobile. What then is keeping Mr. Barber from similarly clicking a few buttons and posting a PDF? He has stated that he fears that the citizens of Mobile would use the knowledge to physically imperil police officers. That conveys very clearly the kind of regard Mr. Barber holds for the citizens he is employed to serve and protect. Considering his history of resisting oversight and accountability, however, it seems more likely that he is protecting something other than the physical integrity of police officers. Now, the impact of abuse of power is to inflict trauma on the citizens of Mobile. But you don't have to be the one who inflicts the physical punch or the assault to inflict the trauma. You can be the representative of Mobile who remains silent, who turns away, who does not respond appropriately when response is required. And this is known as a secondary traumatization. This concept is called institutional betrayal trauma. And when people experience this type of secondary trauma, that greatly compromises their ability to heal and recover from the primary trauma. So living in a city that has the highest rates of depression in the nation, some of the highest rates of poverty, some of the highest rates of chronic illness, we would hope that representatives of our city would be acting in the best interest of our citizens with our wellness in mind. But during that meeting, that's not what I saw from the majority of the council members. What I saw was complimenting the police department, saying that, we might even double their budget. I saw no holding of anyone accountable. And when we are not holding people accountable, we are also perpetrating these traumas that are keeping our citizenry unwell. I hear my time is up, but I've prepared a book list that I'm going to leave with the clerk so that city officials can review some of the information related to what I've been speaking about.
Thank you so much. If you could share that information with Ms. Lambert, our city clerk, she'll make certain that we get copies of it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Tiffany Prater, and following Ms. Prater will be Reggie Hill.
Ms. Tiffany Prater? Okay, all right.
Obviously, there's no work, but I hope you can hear me well.
Yes.
Okay. So, my name is Tiffany Crawford. I am at 1507 North Circle, Mobile, Alabama. I am here in response to the July 9th special council meeting on the issue of policing and community relations. And I'm basically bouncing off the point of Mary Smith as well, that I see no sense of accountability within the police department and the city government. So after a
attending the recent special call meeting. Several of us, several organizations, several individuals have submitted detailed questions, documents, graphs, etc., questioning the police department's budget and asking why is training not, training information not available, why are specific hiring processes not made available, why is the policy and procedural manual, of course because of what's going on now, use of force, disciplinary code of conduct, even Sacramento, California, why doesn't the Public Safety Commission have an easily accessible resource where any public safety officer working for Mobile or Mobile County can be looked up? If I'm an elementary school teacher and I have to have a full file of, my name, my picture, what schools I went to, my level of education, where I'm currently working now, why can't a police officer or firefighter or paramedic that's dedicated their bodies and their service and their expertise, supposed expertise based on the training they receive here, why can I not find that? Because if these people are getting paid, if you're signing off on $50+ million a year to let them go out in the streets, why do I not know names? Why do I not know levels of education? I just basically see some people with badges coming in my community saying, I'm here to connect with you. You obviously don't live in my communities. You're getting paid. They're getting very underpaid. An average $30,000 a year for an officer, and the median income for Mobile is around 41. That's a nice little gap. But anyways, I came to ask two questions on accountability between the council, mayor, and the police department, or I can even say just public safety in general. So how will the city of Mobile hold the Mobile Police Department accountable in providing the public with copies of training manuals and policies and procedures? There's been an argument when Chief Batiste has arms crossed, saying that he legally, at the moment, cannot answer because he's being held on trial in fear of legal reprimandment of certain clauses within that book. What can the council do to actually put pressure on the situation? I understand that you and the mayor are basically a system of checks and balances within these different departments, but you guys have actual teeth in the situation. Because small cities such as Hoover and Saraland, much smaller than us, have answered the call 2 to 3 years ago from the NAACP and the ACLU to submit any, not the whole thing, just some use of force policies, basic conduct procedures, basic use of force procedures, basic reporting. For instance, if I have even the most minor encounter with police, why are they not required to report that? Even if nothing happens, I report that I showed up. I report, there was an argument. Why is that not on file? Why is that case number not made public to the people who are involved? And so the Mobile Police Department in around 2016, and this was endorsed by the council at the time.
I believe you have 1 minute. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You guys even appointed members on this community review board for the police department that obviously fizzled out due to lack of engagement. Are there any considerations for reviving this board? If so, how will you actually put more teeth into that as well? How will you prevent these appointed people or volunteers from leaving posts? Will they have any form of subpoena power besides influence? Will they have any training from the police department? Will they be educated, or are these just pastors and volunteers and people with clout sitting on a board to pat each other's backs for the police department to say that they're spending their money on community relations? So, I yield my time.
Thank you. Is it Ms. Trotter?
Trotter.
Ms. Trotter, yeah, it is, Ms. Trotter. Thank you, Ms. Trotter. Is there any commentary relative to Ms. Trotter's presentation? I just want to say that you referenced at the very end the Citizens Committee relative to the community and police, and we are extremely intentional on getting that started back up. Most members of the council have made appointments. I believe one of the appointees is here today, if not two. And once everyone has made an appointment, we will have an organizational meeting so that they know exactly what the charge is. And in the interim, we'll be looking over the ordinance to make certain that if any changes need to be made, any updates, revisions, so hopefully this new iteration will be more successful than the last. Because the last group was well-intentioned citizens, but there was a disconnect, I believe, in the public knowing how to reach them. And then there was an internal argument and strife amongst those who were selected to be on the committee. You had those who thought the police could do no wrong in any instance, even with body camera footage. And you had those who thought that law enforcement could do no right. And that type of composition will lead to what happened, which is everybody resigned, it went nowhere, and it was not effective. But I believe this new slate of appointments hopefully will work better together, will work more cohesively with the police department in search of the truth. And that's what's important, ladies and gentlemen. The truth, whether it shines brightly in negatively for the police department or for the citizen. That's one of the reasons why this council fought so strongly for body cameras, so that we would know once and for all, cut he said and she said, put them out of business, play the footage, so that we'll know what's going on. It's a help to our officers, it's a help to our citizens. And so thank you all, thank you for coming down. The mayor heard your presentation, he's listening. I've asked him. Public Safety Director heard your presentation. I know he's listening. And one way that you keep the pressure on is by staying engaged, by signing up and speaking and letting the leadership of this city know the direction you would like the city to go in. So thank you for coming down. Madam Secretary.
Reggie Hill, and following Mr. Hill is Raymond Bell.
Mr. President, members of the council, to our mayor,
Mr.
Hill,
Hill.
during this portion of the meeting,
Mr. Hill.
stakeholders in Mobile. Good
Mr.
morning.
Hill.
Reggie Hill, 1007.
Where is your mask? Your mask.
Communication that was sent to the city clerk last week. You understand the state law, sir. My goal
Mr. Mr. Hill. Mr. Hill, this is the
opportunities for the people of my
Mr. Barber,
to
Mr.
also
Chief Barber.
unite residents.
I'm not today. Not today. You want to reference me by what the governor's saying? I guarantee you, if you had a meeting with the governor, I got it, Mr. Williams.
Let's just move on.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk.
Raymond Bell.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I hope y'all can hear me with my mask on. I'm here representing the Mobile Sports and Entertainment Group, and we have members of our leadership team here, Lex Rosenbaum, Ari Rosenbaum, John Hilliard, and Kevin Grimes. And we'd like to thank both the mayor and the council for allowing us to be here, and we'd also like to thank the mayor and the council for the support that we've had since they've been, this is not going to work, since they've been operating the stadium. We wanted to come out in about the 6-month mark and kind of give an update and to give somewhat of a report card. And we're a little delayed in doing that because of the COVID circumstances. We're about 7.5 months out. But we wanted to come and share what's going on at the Hank and give the excuse me, the leadership of the city a little understanding of where we think we're going moving forward. To date, the team has spent approximately $81,000 in improvements at the stadium. Those improvements include redoing the ball field and the ball field wall, backfield wall, a lot of painting, a lot of sprucing up, a lot of roof repairs, repairs to the concession areas, and updates to the suites. We're slated to do an additional $24,000 of improvements in the near future, and the Hank is really looking good, and it's going to continue to look good as we move forward. The team is continuing to work to seek to make this a very vibrant asset to the community. We welcome members of the council and members of the administration to come out and take a tour and to attend some of the events and kind of see how the place looks and all of the activity that is going on. After receiving the privilege of operating the stadium back in December of 2019, the team spent the rest of 19 and January of 20 with a lot of planning and a lot of updating of the exterior. And since then, we're proud to report that we've attracted approximately 80 events, and we have had events put on by the Sports and Entertainment Group as well as others that have used the facility. We take this as an opportunity to come here and to deliver good news about what's happening. There's another somewhat 80 events planned going forward. We do have, unfortunately, to report that so far we've had a couple dozen events that had to be postponed or either canceled, but we're hopeful that those events will come back in the future or be rescheduled when they're normally played during the calendar year or next year. As we all know, the purpose for the stadium originally several years ago was baseball, and we're proud to report that since the Mobile Sports and Entertainment Group has operated the stadium, that over 275 baseball games have been played there. Those numbers include games that were part of certain tournaments as well as individual games. Unfortunately, we've had about 80 of baseball games that had to cancel because of the pandemic, but as we move forward for the month of August and a little bit into September, we got about another 36 games that are scheduled. So all in all, there will be over 300 baseball games that will have been played at the stadium within about an 8-9 month period. The team will continue to focus on baseball, and we look forward to having more high school, junior college, and college sports there come out and play. We want to report that we've had teams out there from near and far. Examples of that would be Bishop State, the University of Mobile, Spring Hill College, the University of Montevallo, Pensacola State College, the University of West Florida, Auburn at Montgomery, and Alabama North Community. I'm out of time. All right. Well, we also want you to know that we've been working hand in hand with the Mobile Sports Authority and Mr. Cordy's group, and the teams were successful in getting the Southern States Athletic Association tournament here. That's a 4-year contract. We will have teams here from Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Georgia for 4 consecutive years. They'll bring their families, they'll bring their grandparents. We all know and understand that that's economic development. Again, I know we're running out of time, but we wanted to come and give a positive report on what's happening at the Hank. There's more to come. I have brought 2 handouts. One is a copy of the press release regarding the baseball stadium, the baseball tournament that's going to be here for the next 4 years, and also a listing of events that have either taken place or are planned and a few that have been canceled. We're here, we'll answer any questions, and we just wanted to come back before you and let you know and give you a bit of confidence that the right team is out there operating the stadium.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Any questions?
Mr. President,
Yes, sir.
may I just take a moment to confirm that the MSEG group is compliant under their lease. They've done everything that they promised to do. Ms. Rich, including the payment of rent on time. And they have been, as they have today, been very open with the administration about where they are, at what time, and their success even through this trying times. Thank you.
Great. Good news.
Thank you, Mr. West.
One more.
I was going to comment for the group, if you have a press release or some kind of advertisement and you want to get it out to the general public, we do our newsletters. And if you get it to the city clerk's office, we'll make sure it makes it into our newsletter, especially when you're inviting the general public.
Damian Marks, and following Damian Marks would be Sabrina Mass, speaking on ordinance 39020.
Good morning, Damian Marks, 405 Charleston Street, Mobile, Alabama, 36603. Good morning. I would first like to say thank you for allowing me to speak this morning to the council, the mayor. For most of my life, I lived in the city of Mobile. This is my home, minus the time that I served honorably in the United States military. I am very active in my community, and some of you may know me through my community work. And also, I'm a committed and passionate mentor to the youth in our city. Or you may know me through business relations. However, today, I'm here as a concerned citizen. On July the 7th, 2020, a consent resolution was introduced by the City Council, and I was appointed to the Police Citizen Community Relations Advisory Council, representing Councilman C.J. Small's district. I would like to ask, when will the rest of the council members make their selection to the advisory committee? It is important for the citizens to have a voice and their concerns heard and addressed in a timely manner. It is also important that the community and the officers develop relationships that are built on trust, understanding, and transparency. And last but not least, definitely respect. The Advisory Council will provide a platform where citizens can have oversight, a voice, and also while catering to their concerns and potential issues. It would also help officers build healthy relationships with community members and allow advisory members to develop solutions that will promote positive community police relationships. As we all have witnessed this morning, we have citizens that have currently protested and voiced their concerns, and they feel like their voices have not been heard. We've heard stories this morning that could be resolved by this committee. It is issues like this that I'm concerned about. However, the Police Citizens Community Relations Advisory Committee can assist with addressing these type of issues. It is important to strengthen the community police relations. However, it requires understanding community dynamics and building individual connections between the community members and our law enforcement agency. We must build understanding and partnership across the community while providing officers with valuable perspectives on the community needs to help our city and our citizens stay ahead of the curve. The Advisory Council will also help our police department understand how different policies and procedures affect different communities. It is important that we work together to come up with innovating public safety solutions. It is important that the remaining council members take immediate action. Our community needs help, transparency, and officers need additional tools that would educate and assist them in navigating some of the challenges they face with building community relationships. The community would like to know, when will you make your selection for the Police City Advisory Council? If you do not plan to make a selection, why not? I yield the rest of my time.
Mr. Marks? Let me just hopefully speak for all of us in saying that we certainly, most definitely intend on everyone making appointments. Most of the council has already done so. I will admit I have not turned a name in, and I'll tell you why. Because I advertised and asked persons who were interested to contact me. And out of deference to them showing interest, I wanted to talk with each person who indicated that they were interested instead of just arbitrarily picking a person and moving forward. I hope to have that process finished today, and I hope to have a name on the agenda for next week's meeting. Once we have all 7 names, once we have the committee fully, the full composition of the committee, we will call a meeting, an organizational meeting, so that you all can get to work. But what I can appreciate is this level of passion that you've exhibited by coming here today to spur us on, to say, get the job done, turn us loose. And I'm ready to do it. I know you on there. I believe Ms. Mass is a member now. And I know you all are ready to get to work. And I want to send you, I wish I had known completely that you lived in my district. You could have been my representative. But you're on with C.J. Small. That's great. Great councilman.
Yes, sir.
And we look forward to having all of the slots filled, and hopefully by next Tuesday being able to announce an organizational meeting.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Mr. President,
Mr. Davis?
Mr. Marks, I too would like to thank you for coming down today.
Yes, sir.
And I'm one of the council persons who has not made an appointment to the committee. And I want to tell you why I have not done that since you asked. This committee was created several years ago in response to an officer-involved shooting. And the council had hearings, and the council discussed on several occasions every single word in the resolution creating, or ordinance creating that committee. And one of the provisions that I was insistent upon was that all of the members of the committee go through certain training with the police department, do a ride around, and go to the firing range. I don't think we all are citizens. We come to a committee like this as a citizen, what we know as a citizen. But in order to be a valuable member of this committee, I felt like, and other members of the council felt like, some really simple training or experience with the police department was important. The only reason I voted for that was because that provision was in there. And then when we got to it, we had at least one member who refused to go through the training. And that member was not removed. In addition, I appointed a gentleman, a resident of District 5, who I thought would be very even-handed on that commission. And this man, he gave up his nights. He went to all the meetings. He worked hard to make the commission a go. And some of the members wouldn't show up. And then he'd go, and I went to a bunch of these meetings to see what was happening, and none of the public showed up. Now, I'm not saying none, that's too strong a word. But they couldn't get a quorum together, and then the attendance at the meetings was very poor. And so I'm going to have to receive some assurances from my colleagues with respect to their agreement to honor the provisions of that ordinance before I ask someone else to give significant amounts of their time to that commission. That's where I am on it.
If I could comment.
I'm sorry, Mr. Marks, your time
If I could comment.
your time has expired. Ms.
Thank you.
Ms.
I
Rich?
appreciate that. I echo some of the sentiments, and I appreciate the desire to see this community, which I saw it as an asset, and it did have complete parameters that every member was to meet. And I know that the person that I had appointed was very diligent about doing exactly as the board was intended and set up through a consensus of the council, so it was an outreach from council. One of the things that was a sticking point was, and I heard it from a speaker this just a few minutes ago, they want a board that has subpoena power. But that's not possible. This council is empowered with that. It's like a nuclear option, used it maybe one time to my knowledge. But the point is that we cannot appoint a board and then defer to them to give them the power that the Zogby bill gave to this council. So it's not possible. That's just not a possible action that they can have. And I think that created some of the angst and what this board was entitled to do. But I saw it as something extremely positive because I knew that the administration, through the chief of police, had a lot of community boards or groups and interactions, and then this council would have an outreach and work with the chief of police, not as a tool to make it not more popular to have this board, but to make it so that it was a good outreach and another communication tool with the public. So I look forward to probably appointing back the person that, in all its good intention, wanted to be a part of this. And I believe that they're interested in reserving, but I'm going to get that, from them. But I'd love to see this board come back. And I thought the parameters were right, and it did take a consensus of this council because there was first no interest from some council people to even see the board achieve the commission. And then through talking with each other and working as a group, we came up with it. But the subpoena power is not something that board can ever be empowered with. Thanks.
Mr. President.
Mr. Davis?
If I could just once again thank Mr. Marks for coming, and I don't want you to think that I'm attacking you or the concept of the commission. I think the concept of the commission was a good concept. But as you can tell, I had a good deal of frustration in how things actually turned out with respect to it. Thank you, sir.
If at first you don't succeed, try and try again. We did not succeed with the first iteration. Everybody has accepted the fact that it was a failure. But you don't just say it failed and let's not give it another opportunity. And so I think I'm encouraging all members of this council to find a person who would be willing to accept the tenets of the ordinance, explain what the role is, what the requirements are, and we need to know ahead of time if you aren't willing to abide by the requirements. And if there's something in there that you don't want to do, then they need to tell me that so I don't appoint that person. But I don't think the answer is just not to move forward with this second iteration. So I'm asking every member of this council, including myself, let's search our souls, search our communities, get a name on this agenda so that this commission can move forward. And if we have enough to have a quorum, we're going to move forward with the ones that we have. And if somebody doesn't want to make an appointment, then your community won't have representation. Mr. Davis, surely there's somebody in your district that would want to work with the rest of our appointees. And I'm asking that you and Ms. Rich and anybody else, including myself, let's try to bring this to some consummation next week, please.
Mr. President,
Mr. Richardson?
how many people have been appointed so far?
Madam City Clerk, well, I hear if the numbers are right, I'm lacking an appointment, Ms. Rich is lacking an appointment, and Mr. Davis is lacking an appointment.
But I believe if we could get 5, we can move on. So it's imperative that you make an appointment.
I will have mine in by Tuesday. And if we have 5 members, we will go ahead with the meeting.
Right.
But I'm publicly asking those to my left who have not made an appointment, including me, let's make an appointment.
I don't think
Mr. President, I haven't
ma'am.
made one yet, although I have reached out to someone.
Yes, ma'am.
But we need to have the ordinance, or resolution rather, available so that we can send to everybody so that they understand that this is required.
Yes, ma'am.
If you were going to serve. It's not one of those things where you say you'll serve, and then you say, oh no, I'm not going to do it.
I agree.
We could do that.
Madam City Clerk, if you could make certain that all of us have that ordinance so that we can disseminate it to potential appointees, and we'll go from there.
Mr. President, one
Yes,
last
sir, Mr.
thing.
Richardson.
The issue was raised regarding subpoenaing evidence. If there is evidence that this committee would desire to have, notify your appointee. There's no information we can't get. So you don't have to get it. Just give it to us. We can subpoena it. We don't think it's necessary to subpoena it. The Zogby Act give us the authority to get information about the city that we need. So if there's information you want, first ask for it. If it's refused, go to your go to the person who appointed you. We can get it. So don't let that be a stumbling block that you may want information that they won't give you. That's not going to be no issue. That issue went before the Attorney General for the state of Alabama as to what information can the public receive. And his opinion said, if the information was codified or received or written down or recorded by a public employee, then the public is entitled to it. If it's recorded by somebody private, you may not be able to get it. But if what you are seeking was put there by a public employee, the public is entitled to it.
Thank you again, Mr. Marks.
Sabrina Mass regarding ordinance 39020.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Thank you. Sabrina Mass, 1050 Belvedere Circle West, Mobile, Alabama, 36606. I am here to speak about the noise ordinance. And first, I would like to commend the young people that had the protest this morning. Thank you for keeping it peaceful. And it looked like it went pretty good. I have no problem with the Councilman Richardson trying to change the noise ordinance if it's for the better of the community and the young people and people like myself that are protesters. However, I would like to add this. For the ones that are just coming out and starting new protests, you have to understand that we have to respect those things. And I have a problem because I know the protest that happened, I think it was at Admiral Sims a while back when the police got involved. I had people from Texas, New York, people that are my associates, they had a video circulating where they were out there blasting music right down the hall, the street from the DOJ. I have family that works for the Department of Justice. And that music, F the police, no. No. I am an advocate. Everyone that knows me, and I know a lot of people in Mobile, citizens, leaders, they know my stance. I don't have to prove that to anybody. But when you want to have respect, you have to give respect. You don't blast F the police. In downtown Mobile, around the leaders, children, tourists. That's not the way we represent this city. I'm not new at this. So if you want respect, you have to give respect. I have no problem with revamping the noise ordinance, but I do have a problem with saying F the police, because I'm here to tell you, I know 90% of these police in Mobile. I've known them for many years. You have some bad seeds, of course you do, but you also have some good ones. So when we're talking about the police, we just cannot group them and say Mobile police. If you have a bad cop, make it known, but don't go spreading in society that all police are bad. They're not. They're not. I speak for citizens, and I also speak for the police. And I truly believe that Director Barber, even Chief Batiste, are really, really diligently trying to do their best to please the people. Some people may not like what I have to say, but it's okay. Because everybody knows Ms. Mass know I take a stance and I stand for right. I don't do stupid stuff. I don't do ignorant things. And I had a problem with people from other states, respectful people, sending me a video and tagging me, which I had to tag it off my page. So in this the city you live in, they're talking about F the police? No, we're not going to be saying F the police. If you want to bridge the gap, come together with the police. That's what we have to do. We're trying to make some peace in this community. We're trying to gain trust in this community. Because if you go around saying F the police, and what if the police go and say F the citizens? Then we're all stupid and we're stuck. So So I have no problem with the noise ordinance being revamped to, let the decibels go higher or louder, but I do have a problem when you're, out here playing the wrong music. I have grandkids. I don't want to be riding downtown and my kids, because they're with me a lot, listening to some stuff that says F. No. And that's my stance on the noise ordinance. I have no problem with it, but please, people, if you're going to protest, be respectful. We just got through celebrating the legacy of Congressman John Lewis. Did he ever say F the police? Dr. Martin Luther King, did he say F the police? So if you're going to emulate icons, do better. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mass.
Ordinance is
Mr. President,
Mr. Vice President?
I want to just say a couple of things. One, I do thank Ms. Bass for coming out. She gonna speak her mind, but I thank you for your support that you give towards the protesters and also the police department. I have always stated that everybody got someone bad in their family, and you can't just pinpoint the whole family because of one individual. But sometimes as humans we do that. And I stated before that I have several friends that's on the police department, and I know way fashion or think that every policeman is bad, because I know that's untrue. Maybe one or two, but I mean we cannot just pinpoint the whole department like that. And I do appreciate my appointee, Mr. Marsh, for coming out this morning to express his concerns about the police department citizen advisory. And one thing I can say about Mr. March, that Mr. March works very, very hard throughout the District 3. Many events that I sponsor, he'd be right there sponsored with me, if not physically, but financially. And I can't say 100% that he will put his whole heart and soul into the committee to make sure that the citizens and working along with the police department, that everybody will have an understanding. Because if we take this meeting, majority of this meeting was talking about the police department, something that we really just don't have no control over whatsoever. But I believe that this committee go ahead and put in place with good people that we probably could have been out of meeting, already. So I do encourage my colleagues to go ahead and make this appointment, because again, this is not what CJ want. This is what the citizens have been crying about, talking about. And this is the only outlet that they have. This is a business meeting for the city of Mobile, and that is City of Mobile business. But some of this could have been cut down if maybe we had this committee already put in place and have our appointees to go out to the different areas of the city and talk to the people, and along with the police department, and hear their concerns. Because a lot of people just pretty much want an outlet, and if they know that their voices are being heard and they have an outlet, maybe we can just move the city a little bit more faster than what we are doing currently. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President, and I completely concur. Madam City Clerk?
Ordinance is held over. 39020, ordinance to amend the city's general noise ordinance to add peaceful protest, demonstration, and rallies as an exception.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Mr. President, you were absent for pre-council this morning.
Yes, sir.
And I asked our attorney to research the law to see whether or not our noise ordinance had been challenged in court. And it had. It went all the way up to the Alabama Supreme Court. And I had him just to give us a survey of what he found, and for your benefit and for the rest of the people out there. Chris, could you go back over that again, tell us what you found?
Yes, sir. Prior city code in the 90s had early 90s, that is, barred any noise that disturbed anybody pretty much anywhere. And it also barred singing, yelling, chanting, etc., or noise from a device that could be heard 50 feet away. There was no limitations on the area where all this would take place.
there was a case where a man named Duffy was preaching on a corner with an amplifier. He got a ticket, appealed it to the Alabama Supreme Court, which held the ordinance unconstitutional, said it was basically overbroad. Supreme Court suggested specifying decibel levels and setting some time frames for those decibel levels. They also recommended adding possibly exclusions for speaking human voice. After that case came out, the ordinance was revised. They took out the part about the singing and yelling. They limited it to the public property and limited it to using sound reproducing devices that can be heard 25 feet away. So it changed some things and made other things tighter, really. The proposal that the second proposal Mr. Richardson proposed kind of goes along with those decibel levels and things, not the exact numbers, but the idea of having one and some time frames where those could be instituted.
Thank you very much. Mr. President, the Norris ordinance during the time that it went up before the Alabama Supreme Court had set 50 feet, that if you could hear it beyond 50 feet, and when it got the Alabama Supreme Court, they ruled it illegal. Well, ours says today 25 feet, if you can hear beyond 25 feet. But I believe hopefully we can resolve this today. It's a constitutional issue. 3996A1 is a constitutional issue. Let me say that the Constitution was written in 1776, but the Constitution was not ratified until 1778. It was, 1788 wasn't right. It was 12 years later, 1788. And the reason it took them 12 years to ratify the Constitution, because each time the Constitution went to the various and sundry states to vote in favor of the Constitution, they turned it down, because their point is the Constitution only tells us what the government can do. It has nothing to do with the citizens' power. What about our power? The reason we left England, because the government had harassed us, and we don't want to create another government where we don't have no authority. So it took them 12 years to come back and added the Bill of Rights. That was added to the Constitution. It was not initially part of the Constitution, and they wouldn't ratify it. I said that to say there is nothing in that Constitution more important to the citizens than the Bill of Rights. And the judge in the Alabama Supreme Court turned it down based on the First Amendment right. Let me read you what the First Amendment said. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridge the freedom of speech. Abridge the freedom of speech. You can't stop nobody from speaking. They have a right to speak. Our Constitution, our law, abridged the right to speak. Now, if you go to the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. They went to the Councilman Small, tried to get a law passed regarding guns, and we were told that the state took away any rights or any city council to pass a law on guns. Only the state can pass a law on guns. They asked the state to pass a law governing the size of gun an individual could carry. It said no. They went to the to the U.S. Supreme, to the U.S. Congress and Senate to ask them to limit the size of a gun that an individual could carry? They said no. They ought to be able to carry as big a gun as they want to carry because it's in the Constitution. But when it comes down to freedom of speech, I don't want to hear you no more than 25 feet. But when it comes down to guns, you can carry a gun. You can, as a matter of fact, when they had the demonstration, the Black Lives Matter demonstration, 2 people showed up with a AK-47 or whatever the number is. You know what the police chief told him? Put that down. Go put that in the trunk of your car. But then they tell the citizens who the First Amendment had to do with free speech. It was more important than what size guns. They had muzzle loaders guns, and they could not repeat itself. A single shot. Today they can shoot 500 rounds, and it's still legal for you to carry. But we're telling the citizen it's illegal for me to hear you for beyond 25 feet. It's a constitutional matter. As a matter of fact, you know what people say? The reason we're doing that because guns don't kill, people kill. Go get your knife out. They got a law say, I believe it's 3 inches. You cannot have a knife more than 3 inches long. Knives don't kill, people kill. But they govern the size of the knife you can carry. So this is what I say, council members. And I'm glad we have the Director of Public Safety here. This is what the law says. Our current law says. It shall be unlawful for any person to play, use, or operate, or permit to be played or operated any radio, tape player, cassette player, compact disc player, or other machines or device for reproducing sound on any public property, including public streets, roads, buildings, or sidewalks, in such a manner that the sound can be generated, can be audible for a distance of 25 feet. This is what I think the catch is. We may not have to do anything. The issue is reproducing versus amplification. The Alabama Supreme Court ruled against amplification. In other words, my voice didn't change because I'm on this speaker. I'm not reproducing nothing. I'm amplifying what I say. But if I get a cassette tape, I'm reproducing. All of these other things, radio reproducing, tape player reproducing, cassette player reproducing, compact disc player reproducing. But if I use an amplifier so you can hear me, that has nothing to do with reproducing sound. I'm here against the police coming out there with them having an amplifier saying, you can use this, else I'll carry you to jail and your amplifier too. Now, Director Barber, do you agree that amplifying, if I'm just speaking, I'm amplifying? I'm not reproducing nothing. I haven't said nothing before.
I think amplification would refer to like a megaphone, bullhorn, something like that.
That's amplifying.
That's amplifying.
But I'm saying, but if I plug into this same thing, if I turn my iPad on and start playing some music from iTunes, I'm reproducing. This is a reproduced sound.
That's correct.
So I don't have nothing against this ordinance speaking about reproduce if you're using a sound that's reproducing something. But if they are out there and using an amplifier to amplify what they're saying, they have the freedom of speech and they just want you to hear what they say. I don't see how that can be illegal. I think that's within the confines of the Constitution, freedom of speech, and nobody, the Constitution didn't say nothing about how loud you could be because it didn't say nothing about how big your gun could be. It said you have the right to bear arms. It didn't say that you couldn't carry a machine gun. It said you have the right to speak, and it didn't say you had to whisper. So I ought to be able to use a device to make my sound go further if I'm speaking to a group. And that should not be illegal, and the police should not infringe on my rights. If we can agree to that, then I would offer motion to suspend the amendment and just let it stay like it is. What I'm fighting is that the police out there arresting folks for using a microphone.
Mr. Richardson, I'm unaware of any officers arrested anybody.
No,
for
they
amplifying.
threatened. They didn't.
I will point out that this morning they were also using a bullhorn, and we didn't interfere with that.
Okay. Chris, is your interpretation different from what I say regarding amplifying versus reproducing?
That's a good question.
But now they mentioned amplifying at the Supreme Court level.
Yeah, I know.
They talked about the human voice, that you can't put no law on the human voice because it's in the U.S. Constitution.
I was kind of thinking, you speak into the microphone or whatever, goes through the machine, comes out the other end. Maybe that could be reproduced.
No, it's the same voice. I'm not using nobody else. It's the first time you hear it. I'm not reproducing nothing. You're amplifying.
The level at where it comes out.
You're amplifying. That's all you're doing. I'm not reproducing nothing. Now, if you recall what I'm saying today, and tomorrow you come back down here and try to play this, you playing a reproduced sound.
Anything else, Mr. Rich? Because Mr. Davis and Ms. Rich would like to.
Okay, I'm through.
Come, Mr. Davis and then Ms. Rich.
I thought he said he might drop it.
He did.
I will.
If he's dropping it with it's moved.
Oh, now, you willing to drop it?
As long as the Director of Public Safety is in agreement that amplified
Are you in
noise-
agreement, Mr. Director of Public Safety?
I am.
You are?
I'm in agreement that
He's in agreement.
as it's written, it's talking about the reproduction of sound. And I was assuring Mr. Richardson that we did not even stop anybody from using bullhorns or megahorns.
So we have a motion and a second. We had discussed, so you will rescind your motion?
Yes.
Just table it, let's table it.
Move to table.
Okay, that's good.
Second.
Been probably moved and seconded the discussion. If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item is tabled. Madam City Clerk?
Thank you, Jim.
64023, rezone property at 1073 Bernice Hudson Drive from R1 and R2 to R1.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Resolutions held over 01533, authorized agreement with Neil Schaefer for CE&I services roundabout installation at the intersection of Broad Street and Canal Street. 08534 535, approving purchase orders to the State of Alabama Correctional Industries for furniture for the police department, and to order United Rentals of North America for skid steer loader. 08536, approved purchase order to Cronus Inc. for annual renewal of timekeeping and workforce management software licenses. 21537, authorized contract with Robert J. Baggett for the emergency removal and reinstallation of the floating dock at Cooper Riverside Park on an as-needed basis. 21538, authorized contract with BFI Waste Services for recycling equipment rental and hauling. 25539, grant easements to the Alabama Power Company for overhead service in PFC Howard Johnson Park. 21541, authorized contract with Allied Emergency Services doing business as Pure Clean Emergency Services for the emergency environmental remediation of the Explorium Science Center.
So moved.
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Items passed.
21540, authorized contract with Arena Fire Protection for the cruise terminal first floor fire sprinkler system replacement.
Move to table.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item is tabled.
Ordinance is being introduced for the first time, 27024 through 34025.
My colleagues, I'd ask that item 27024 will go before the Finance Committee, and item 34025 will go before Administrative Services. And with the respective chairs of those committees, to get with your council, get with your members, and then announce some dates for us to take these items up.
Give those
So-
committees again. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
The first one, dealing with food trucks, is Finance.
Finance?
Yes, ma'am. The second one, 34025, Administrative Services.
Okay, thank you.
So you
Yes,
want to lay this over for 3 weeks?
That's fine with me, Mr. Vice President. 3 weeks?
We'll need to make a motion.
If you're making that motion?
Yes.
Second?
They're being introduced.
We got
We
to
have
waive
a
the rule first.
Well, okay. Motion to suspend the rule for immediate consideration for 27-024 through 34-025.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Ordinance is 27024, ordinance to regulate food trucks, and ordinance 34025, ordinance to amend chapter 34 of the city code regarding short-term lodging or rental.
Motion to lay over for 3 weeks.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Items are laid over 3 weeks.
Consent resolutions being introduced, 31542 through 6551.
Motion to suspend the rules for immediate consideration for consent resolution 31-542 through 60-551.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
31542, approved grant application to the Bureau of Justice Assistance for the fiscal year 2020 Justice Grant, no local match. 37543, recommend approval to the ABC Board for issuance of a special retail license for Mobile Sports and Entertainment Group. 545, declare 545, 546, 547, 548, 549, 550 are declaring the structures at 353 Dunbar Street, 520 Euchre Street, 2108 Bucker Place, 905 Gale Street, also known as 1009 Tennessee Street, 1365 Glen Street, 7320, also known as 7312 4th Street. Public nuisances and ordering them demolished. 6551, approve award of special bonus to firefighter of the month for July, Mark Hillman.
So moved.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion?
Yes,
Not-
Mr. President.
I'm sorry, Mr. Vice President.
The consent resolution 40-544.
I didn't read that one.
Okay, just make sure. Okay. I'm good.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
4544, declare the structure at 727 Florida Street Extension a public nuisance and order it demolished.
Motion to lay over for 90 days.
Second.
Properly moved in second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
CIP resolutions being introduced, 21552 through 21553.
By council rules, these resolutions will be laid over for 1 week.
Resolutions being introduced for the first time, 08554 through 21563.
The said resolution will be laid over for 1 week by council rules.
Announcements.
Mr. Vice President.
I'll save mine for next week. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Mr. Williams?
No, thank you.
Ms. Gregory?
Yes, sir, just one. Just want to say thanks to the Friendship Missionary Baptist Church volunteers and friends and family members who participated this past Saturday in the food giveaway. This was partially funded by my discretionary fund, so I was happy to do that, as they were able to give out 20,000 pounds of food to people who are in need in the area. So again, many thanks to the Friendship Missionary Baptist Church for providing this service to citizens in our community. That's all.
Mr. Richardson?
I'd just like to make the council and the public aware that the Public Safety Committee will be meeting on August the 4th at 1 p.m. on street closures. Just a reminder that we will be meeting on August the 4th at 1 p.m.
Ms. Rich?
Yes, thank you. This afternoon at 2 o'clock in this very room, the UDC Ad Hoc Committee will meet, and will invited Shayla Biko to give us an update and share any information about this pending progress for the community on updating our ordinances dealing with land use and planning. So that's at 2 o'clock in this room. I look forward to the committee meeting, which is myself, Ms. Gregory, and Mr. Small in attendance, and any other council person who would also like to be present. And then on the 11th of August, in this room at 2 o'clock, we'll meet the same committee, but we'll be discussing the towing ordinance, and I've asked the city clerk to see about getting it in its final form as will come to council. We've had a couple of drafts that we've released, but this will be the final one, and hopefully the following week it'll be on the council, depending on the committee's advice to the council. And I would also like to see that the industry is given information that this is about, and the meeting, the time, the place, 2 o'clock on the 11th, and also a copy of where they can find a copy of the proposed ordinance on towing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rich. Mr. Days? Wonderful, wonderful. Do I hear a motion? Is there a second? Any discussion? Absent any discussion, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Opposed? Sir? Yeah, she, oh.
It had to be within the 5 minutes.
Mm-mm. Mm. Oh, yeah, she called both of them out. No, sir.
And the ordinance was tabled. I don't know if you heard.
Okay. Yes, sir. Appreciate you.